Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So money is the root of all evil, right? We've all heard that. Doesn't have to be. Money can be incredibly liberating and it can really give you a lot of freedom. But you have to know how to spend it right and you have to know how to save it. I suggest if you don't really know how to save money, that you learn how. You learn how to budget yourself first. You learn how to put some money away. I don't care if it's in a jar, under your mattress, in a safe, in your closet, or in the bank, but learn how to save something. And one of the ways that we do this by learning how to save money is to simply drop the addiction to consumerism, because consumerism can really be an addiction. There's nothing wrong with spending money, and we can all kind of feel good over certain purchases. I know I used to be this way. If I got any money, I would spend it, and that spending of the money made me feel good. That's what money's for, it's for spending. It's what the whole point of being in a capitalist society is all about. You work for some money, you get some money, and you go and spend it in your community. I found myself spending money in ways, not just on drugs and alcohol, and that's bad. That's an incredible waste of money, and it kills you. But you can buy all kinds of crap online, down at Walmart, that you don't need. And then at the end of the month, you don't have the money that you should have had to put away. I mean, if you saved $50 a week instead of spending it on bullshit, instead of going out to lunch, instead of going out to dinner so much, learn how to make dinner. If you learned how to budget yourself properly, you would be able to have that extra money and you can put it away. But a lot of it takes a certain amount of self-restraint. Just because you want something, can you resist it? A lot of people can't. I want it and I'm going to buy it. I have a job and nothing's going to stop me. Fine, you're right. It's your right. It's your right as an American in a capitalist society to go and spend your money however you want. Go do it. But spending money isn't necessarily your freedom. The freedom lies in being able to do the things that you want in life, to accomplish goals with your money. Do you ever want to buy a nice house in a nice town with a low crime rate in a nice neighborhood where your neighbors are like, how you doing? That should be everybody's goal. I mean, I'm not trying to project here, but I would think nobody wants to live in a shitty area. Nobody wants to live in the ghetto. I used to live in the ghetto. Nobody wanted to live down there. And if they did want to live down there, they wished that that location was not a ghetto. Nobody wants to live in poverty. Nobody wants to live around crime. People have goals of home ownership, even if it's just apartment life, of living in a nice area of your city with a nice fat apartment on the top floor with a nice view. People have these goals. You can reach those goals, but you have to learn how to budget and you have to learn how to save properly. And a lot of that comes from breaking your addiction to consumerism. You don't need 30 pairs of tennis shoes. You know, there's all kinds of things that we blow money on. I used to do this. One of the things that I used to blow money on back in the old days was CDs, compact discs. I used to love to buy CDs and DVDs too. I used to love to buy that shit. I would go sometimes every day to the record store. I lived in Hollywood and there were several really amazing record stores all around. I used to go to Aaron's, which was not right across the street, but 2 blocks away on Highland up in Hollywood, famous old record store, and they have everything you can think of. I'd go there easily every day, drop 20 bucks, another CD, come home, jam to it, and just feel so good about the new music that I got. And it felt like that I can justify this because it's only 20 bucks. And I love music. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a big music connoisseur. I could talk about music for hours and hours. I could make 1,000 videos about music. So I justified the spending habit. And then I learned how to get music online. Let's just leave it at that. And I wouldn't spend so much on music anymore. And I realized, wow, look how much extra money in my budget that I have. Do the math, 20 bucks a day, 20 bucks every couple days. You know, spending 80 bucks a week or so. And I'm sure I was making decent money so I can afford it, but it's not about what you can afford, it doesn't justify an out-of-control addiction. Consumerism can be an addiction and it can harm you. If you're tying your happiness into little purchases, then you're having this roller coaster ride of emotion, where as soon as you feel down, as soon as you feel a little bit blah, as soon as you feel a little bored, as soon as you're not in your A-type high energy personality and you start to dip a little bit, what do? You go and buy something because it brings you right back up. You can feel excited like a little kid opening a gift. Even if you bought it for yourself, it just feels so good. Sometimes the process of shopping, I know people that it's not that they need to find the cheapest deal. They just love to shop and be a good shopper. So it doesn't matter what it is. If they're going to buy a new air fryer for their countertop, they could search for hours and hours and hours, days, weeks, because they love the hunt. And then they'll buy it, make one thing, and it sits there, and you're like, okay. And then they'll show you their air fryer every time you come over, but they're not really using it much. It was really more of the excitement of the hunt, and then to finally get it and to pat themselves on the back and say, I got the best deal. This is all part of the addiction. Tying your happiness into shit like that is, it's just pure weakness. It's a setup for, disaster, I guess I should say. You're running from your issues. You're pacifying yourself like a baby with a pacifier in their mouth. You're just keeping your mind occupied so you don't have to deal with the real issues. And what are the real issues? You're spending to get off that low so you can get that high, so you can climb that mountain again and be up above the clouds, so you can feel good about yourself. Spending money in a consumerism way, buying bullshit, can make us feel good about ourselves. It's a well-known, studied psychological fact that people that are depressed or high anxiety or unhappy with their lives or themselves in certain ways, that are in that realm of depression, are the best consumers. They buy the most. They spend the most money. Market research, people study this. Who spends the most money in our society? And it's all segmented through different target markets. And the target market of people who are depressed spend the most. The miserable motherfuckers are the best customers. They're coming off their paychecks the quickest because they want to spend their way into happiness. There's this fantasy that a lot of poor people have, that rich people live these great lives. If I was only rich, I'd live a great life. These are people that really aren't understanding what true happiness is. You don't need anything to be happy. You don't need a new set of anything. You don't need a new this or a new that. You don't need anything new to be happy. Happiness is a mindset. Happiness comes from daily discipline. Happiness comes from living a life of meaning. Happiness comes from personal growth, from accomplishment, from having your loved ones around you. Those are all various elements of happiness. Nowhere in the pie chart of happiness does consumerism lie. That doesn't get a sliver of the pie. In fact, it's like doing drugs. You may feel that initial high when you're on your way to get them. You may feel a little bit euphoric or very euphoric while you're doing them. But they all have that crash. And you feel lower. If you started at a flat line, by the time the drugs are done, you're below that mentally, emotionally. And you need more drugs. And eventually, with drug addiction, it gets to be where just to be able to be at that flat line, it used to get you really high, but just to be at that flat line after an addiction that lasts a couple years, you have to do all these drugs just to get to a baseline point, of a starting point. That's when it's lost its thrill. That's when you realize you got a problem and you can't stop. You need it just to be normal. That's what I used to tell myself. It's what a lot of dope heads, alcoholics, tell themselves. Consumerism is exactly the same way. And like any other addiction, it's a great waste of money. It shouldn't be in your budget to buy useless shit every week. I live on a fairly nice block. Neighbors are always buying stuff, and I understand it's been a lockdown and COVID-19 and all that shit, but I see that Amazon truck on the block every day, sometimes 2-3 times a day. People are just buying way too much bullshit. You could save that money. At the end of every year, you should have a few $1,000s. You should have more. You should be should be putting money away. Save up for that nicer house, for the down payment on that new house. Save up for a nice car and buy that car in cash. Have $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 in cash in a bank somewhere so you can do something. If the shit hits the fan, you have money. If you want to take a European vacation, you can do it. Bam, here's $5,000. Let's go to Paris. You could do that. These things don't have to be fantasies for you. Or they always will be. Living a great life, having the freedom to do whatever you want will always just be something that people on the other side of town can do if you don't know how to budget your money. If you let consumerism rule you like a drug, it's pure weakness. It's something that I've had to get on top of, and I used to be horrible at budgeting money, and now I'm great at it. So I like to make videos that empower people. I like to talk about topics that people can learn from, that people can use as ways to become stronger and better people. And consumerism, budgeting money, saving money, and not being addicted to purchasing bullshit that you don't need, not using buying stuff as a way of happiness. Learn how to be truly happy. That's a very important lesson, and I hope somebody got something out of this. Thanks for watching.